Welcome you guys to a preview of every single NFL team for the 2023 season. We're in the AFC East today talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to talk about those damn Cowboys. Let's talk about the Cowboys, the 1990 Chicago Bears. They all talked about that 1995 Super Bowl win 28 years ago. But you look at the Cowboys last year, and last year, I mean, they won their first away game in the playoffs. It's like the early 1990s, so that was a good since the early 90s. So that was pretty impressive. But again, ultimately, when you talk about the Cowboys and playoffs, they choked, and that's what they did. They beat a really bad Buccaneers team in the playoffs to go to the next round. They lost that game, and they go into this season. In the draft, they had a couple of in the draft this year. They go for Mazi Smith, defensive tackle from Michigan. Again, he's a good hand in that defensive side of the ball. So again, he was a good hand. And then they go for tight end, Luke Schoonmaker, tight end from Michigan again. So you get two guys from Michigan State coming in. Mazi Smith, who is a good acquisition. I've seen his tape. He's good. I do like his potential, and he's definitely a starter defensive tackle. Schoonmaker, tight end from Michigan. Again, I could see him being a starter in this Dallas team. Then you have DeMarvion, Overshown, who I do really like. He's a really good raw talent. I think it's not all there yet. Obviously, with the majority of these talents in the NFL, they're not all there yet with the potential and stuff like that. But you look at DeMarvius Overshown, he looks like a good talent. He looks like a good acquisition. They got him late in the draft. He was like third round, so it's a good pick for them from Texas. So it was a great addition. You really look at the linebackers class. It wasn't the greatest linebacker class. Like, you had some good hidden gems in there, like Trent Simpson, which I talked about yesterday. And then you have Devarius Overshow. And then, you know what I mean? So you have some good prospects. He wasn't like the strongest linebacker class, but again, that was a good acquisition. Then you get William, they get Fehoko. He's an edge for San Francisco State. He looks a good prospect as well. I could see him and Mazi Smith doing the work in that defensive role and getting and do some good things together, and I'll love to see their chemistry. Another person in the defense side of the ball, they got Eric Scott Jr., cornerback from Southern Miss. I haven't seen any of his tape, so I don't know how good he is. He could be a good prospect, but I don't know. I don't really know about that. Then the guy that they got in the later rounds. Oh, they got Deuce Vaughn, running back from Kansas State, and then in the later rounds, you got this guy, Jalen Brooks. He's a wide receiver, Southern Carolina. Again, I seen him on tape. It was really a 7th round pick. So again, with a 7th round pick, he's going to be either released, probably going to be cut from the NFL, or he can make 53-man roster. And then if somebody's really injured, I could see him being like a 3rd, 4th wide receiver that you could pick and say, okay, he's our guy. But he was a good talent. Again, he's only in the 7th round. He was a 7th round pick, so again, you're not really losing a lot on him. But Jalen Brooks, wide receiver, he could be a good wide receiver for in case you have any injuries. And then you look at who they signed in the free agency. Now, again, Ezekiel Elliott, they weren't going to renew his contract, so they let him go. Obviously, they didn't really need him because you look at Tony Pollard last year. He did a really good job last year. He was the MVP of this Dallas Cowboys team. He really put a shift in. He was really kicking ass last season. He was one of the MVPs last season. But the big news that came out this past week, and I really want to talk about it, is that Trey Lance Yes, a former first round pick in 2021, 2 years ago, was in part of that same class with Justin Fields, and he was in that class with Justin Fields a couple of years ago, and Trevor Lawrence has now, after 2 years in San Francisco, has been traded to the Cowboys. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here for both parties? Does it make any sense for the Cowboys? It doesn't make sense for the 49ers. Because if I'm the Cowboy, and it doesn't make sense for Trey Lance, it's all three ways. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Because again, if I'm Trey Lance, why the fuck have you gone to Dallas? You know you're not gonna. Do you think he's gonna get more game time over Dak Prescott? Which I'm not the biggest Dak Prescott fan, but again, I want to see this young kid actually do something. And again, he's been in the league 2 years now, and no fault of his own. Like he's first year, excuse me about that, guys. First year, he was had to sit behind fucking Jimmy Garoppolo for a year. That was a good idea from Kyle Shanahan in the front office. Yeah, that was great. Then last year, he was like, last year, 2022, second year in the NFL, so he could be finally the starting guy for San Francisco. And I think in like week 2 or 3, or maybe third or fourth week, whatever it was, he gets an injury, which kind of sucks. Again, this guy cannot catch a break in the NFL. Gets drafted early on, but then first year sits out, second year gets injured, and then we go into the third year, and then this weekend, this past Friday, I'm recording on a Sunday, he gets traded to the Cowboys, and in return, the Cowboys give the 49ers 2 2024 fourth round picks. And if I'm 49ers, what the fuck are you doing with that trade? You're gonna have Brock Purdy, the 7th round pick of last year's draft, starting your line. You have a championship window. I was talking about the Bengals a few days ago, saying that they have a championship window and they got all the pieces together. I look at this 49ers team, and there's no. Again, they have the championship window, but the one important thing they're missing is the quarterback position. And again, I'm not saying Trey Lance was the guy, but you won't know if you never give this kid a chance. And if you give him a chance, he may be that dude. But you just wasted this guy's potential. He's now going to be sitting behind Dak Prescott in Dallas now. There's a lot of other teams in the NFL that needed a quarterback. I look at Kirk Cousins for the Vikings. I would have took him for the Lions. I'm not happy that we got Hendon Hooker. He's really a mid quarterback. I would have loved to get fucking Trey Lance as my starting quarterback this year and give the kid a chance. You know, there's a lot of things. Again, what the fuck were these two fucking... What were the 49ers thinking? What was Trey Lance's fucking agency thinking? So, comes to the Cowboys. They may have offered him a shit ton of money, but he's not going to be playing. He's going to be behind Dak Prescott. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any fucking sense. And all parties... it makes all parties look stupid. Trey Lance has been traded because, again... I don't know why, because they think Brock Purdy is the guy, and then he goes to Dallas when, again, Atlanta could have a quarterback, but the Vikings need a new quarterback. The Lions, we need to have a new quarterback. I'm not really, because Hendon Hooker isn't the guy. The Rams could get themselves a quarterback. I mean, come on. There's so many places he could go to, and he went to Dallas. It doesn't make any sense.